Well, let me head and welcome to MSP Unplugged. I am your host, Paco LeBron. This is the place to learn how to run your IT service business, whether you're a one-person shop or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. I'd like to introduce my partner in crime. As you can see, we are live in person. Mr. Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how the heck are you, my friend?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good as we are here at the Channel Futures Summit and Expo. Having a good time. It's real busy out here, really busy.
If you have not had the chance to check out this event, it's one of those that you won't believe it until you see it. But we want to go ahead, before we go into it, we want to talk about our sponsor of this episode, and that is SuperOps. As you can see, we are live here at the AI Arena. SuperOps is the AI-powered PSA and RMM platform designed for fast-growing MSPs. They provide a lean and powerful way to engage with clients and grow your revenue. Head over to our link below into the show notes. All right, Mr. Smith, it would be not us to not talk about one of my favorite things, your favorite thing as well.
Yes, sir.
What would that be?
That would be TechCon Unplugged.
That is right, folks. TechCon Unplugged 2024. We will be back for our 5th annual event. It will be in the greater Washington, D.C. area, September 12th to the 14th at the hotel at Arundel Preserve. It is our annual gathering for IT business owners, and it is fast approaching. Join like-minded business owners, as I mentioned, for a weekend packed with resources to help your IT business thrive. Your tickets are going to include 25 plus educational sessions, 2 networking events, and after-hours entertainment, all expo hall meals and refreshments and happy hours, automatic entrance, and all to the great generous raffles and giveaways. But most importantly, you're going to walk away with concrete action items to take back with your business and to go ahead and take you to the next level. Discount tickets are still on sale until May 31st. Head over to techconunplugged.com, and we will look forward to seeing you there.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Smith,
Sir.
It's been quite some time since we've been in person.
Yeah.
I think it's probably been since Dallas when we were here for the the Super Summit that SuperOps went ahead and hosted us.
Mhm.
What's been kind of going on for the past week for you here?
This has been fun. It's been a learning experience out here in Vegas, but things have been good. Happy to be here and happy to basically why we're here today is what a lot is basically some of the challenges that other MSPs may face when they get to travel, go to summits, go to shows like this. It's running your business when you're away and how you do that. So, Paco and I have been laying out some groundwork. We knew we were coming. Paco, you've actually been traveling a lot more than I have recently.
I have.
So, I'm going to let you kick this off, but it's an important thing here to know, and that feeling you get when you're leaving, and to make sure that everything's going to be fine.
So just for those that may be tuning in for the first time, I run an MSP out of Chicago. We are about 5 people strong, going out here 7 shortly. And we have Rick that has 2.5 people over at his thing. So our stories are going to be very different. So hopefully you can resonate on one of those stories and how to prepare for yourself when you're going ahead and leaving and getting your business ready so that it can work without you, because you should be being able to work on your business instead of working in your business. So as you mentioned, correct, I've been traveling for the past couple of weeks. At a wedding in Mexico about 2 weeks ago. I was over at another conference in Orlando this past week, and then joining here. And not to mention the 3-hour delay that we had trying to get over here, almost 9 o'clock, which was midnight my time. But, there's a lot of things that you have to really try and figure out, right? And you have to make sure that you put them in place. There's a difference between nervous wracking and trying to get everything done before you leave. And there's really putting in systems in place to be able to move forward and really identify how you want to move forward and really identify what are the key areas so they can work without you. So I'm lucky enough to be able to have both a director of business administration that handles all of our financing, our operations, basically our number 2 person as well. We also have the ability to go ahead and have our help desk. We have a couple techs that are able to take care of some of these items that go on. So I don't have to really necessarily take care of the techs as well. But as you know, I made a decision in the beginning of this year where I told them I wasn't doing anything with day operations. And boy, did they lose their pants. I'm telling you, they were in some situations, you thought they had to have brown pants for when you were talking about that. But there's really a reason why you have to get to that point, because as a business owner, you have to be able to really identify what are the items that are everyone's strengths and weaknesses are, and how do you operate through the business? If I did not remove myself from that, there's no way that I can continue to do those roles and being able to fix that piece there. So I don't know for yourself, as you try to kind of figure out the preparation, obviously it was a little bit different for you because you really are hands-on with the business right now. So what kind of was that for you trying to prepare as you were leaving over here, as we kind of focus on where you?
Well, the first thing is really trying to get the employees to understand, to empower them to make decisions. And the rule I use or the words I used this week was don't call me unless the place is burning down. And really, it's a testament for both of us. It's a testament for me to be able to walk away, trust them to do their jobs, and let the business run. And for them to know that to learn that I trust them, to know that they can do the job, and then so this will get easier as time goes on. You know, depending on what size MSP you are, and depending on what your aspirations are, the goal should be that the business runs without you, right? And you just become the face of the business if that's what you want. I am very hands-on. I like it. I was having this conversation with someone last night, and they asked me if you had your choice, the choice of any job in your company, what would you do? I said, honestly, I'd probably just run cable and be happy, right? But that's just me. But I can't do that. I am the owner, unless I find someone to actually run the company, which that's a whole nother story. But back to the point, you have to be able to empower your people to make decisions. You have to trust them to make decisions. That starts with proper training, proper documentation, things like that, so that they know they have a source, not only from, something on paper, but from just experience and confidence that they can make a decision. So what I say probably the most important thing is to take away the micromanaging if that's what you do and let them do their job.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest piece that you have to really try and focus on is how do you make sure that you don't do delegation, but you go ahead and have smart delegation. You really have to figure out the way of being able to figure out what's going to be the most impactful role, so that while you are gone, you obviously minimize and mitigate that damage that you have that are going out. So similar to like yourself, when we went to Mexico 3 weeks ago, I specifically told them, do not call me. Unless it's literally a client on fire, threatening to cancel, then you can call me. Other than that, don't want to know. Not my problem. So what that hasn't done is really empowered all of the staff that's been there to really focus on some of the items that were going on. Now, there were a couple of emergencies that came up, but they were able to take care of it just fine on their home. But there are a lot of our listeners that may not have the workforce or may not have the luxury of having to be able to rely on an actual employment or workforce. So I want to make sure that we do provide some tangible options that are going to be able to, how do you prepare and what are some options that are available for like yourself when you're not there and you have an on-site call where you have someone that needs to be addressed and you're doing this where you're at right now, how do you handle some of those things?
Well, I think two ways you look at it, right? One, it's always good to try to be, to not have any responding. So make sure everything's running smoothly and like the exploit, but we all know what happens, right?
Right.
You sit in the office for 3 weeks in a row, not a problem that occurs. And then as soon as you walk away for a day, everybody has a problem, right? So one of the other things, if you don't have the resources of an employee or an on-site tech, one of the other things you could do, one of the options is to partner with another MSP that you may know, right? That, you can share resources and share services so that, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you be on call for me? If anything, if any kind of emergency comes up, then you can, have someone to go on site and do whatever. Like you and I have done this a couple of times where just from the standpoint of, hey, in case there's an issue, right, can I have someone call you or have my team reach out to you for some help. And that always helps. So, and there you will find, I'm in New Jersey, there's 30 MSPs within 10 miles, right? And I know some of them. So, that's always a good resource to have. You can share, hey, can you cover me if something goes wrong? And you can reciprocate with that. Whether you work out, is this a barter agreement? You cover me, I cover you, or if it's paid, whatever it may be, you work it out so that it can, benefit you if you don't have the resources any other way.
So, a really great piece to that is that, for a lot of us that are listening, they may not even know where to approach or who to go or who can they trust. What were some of the things that you tried to do when you actually were able to find someone you're trustable, or you did? How did you kind of find them as you approach to see if they could be an extension of your business or just to leverage them so they can take care of some tasks that maybe either A, you're unable to do so or you don't want to do so?
Well, a couple of things happen. The MSP world itself is small, as we know, even though it's, I don't know, what's the number now? 30,000 MSPs?
Yeah, something like that.
Some large amount. Like I said, there's 30 within 10 miles of me in New Jersey. But the other part of that is events like this, right? You meet people, find out, hey, where you from? Wow, I'm down the street from you. I'm 5 miles away from you. So I've made a couple of friends, a couple of people that I can share resources with that I've met at events like this, or local events. Channel, excuse me, ASCII and
Okay.
what is
Couple.
Channel Pro, right? I'm sorry. They throw local events, and so you'll run into a lot of local MSPs there. You make friends with them there. If it's somebody you trust and you think that what they're doing would benefit your business, or just wouldn't hurt you, then those are good relations to have. You and I became friends at an event. We met actually at what would have been TechCon, the prior TechCon, I guess what you called it.
I think what he's referring to is the Unconvention, which is basically a few events splintered off from that event, kind of going through from that side. So yes, no, I think that it's a point where, like you said, I think it's being able to get to the people, be able to go in front, and really just have that personal connection with those lots. Now, during obviously the shelter in place and a lot of the things that were going on from there, the really big piece about that. Oh, sorry, Mike has got it up. That's what you get live, folks. No, so really, I think the biggest piece also is that really has helped is a lot of the collaboration and communities inside of other forums and community pages. One of them being, a lot of people were going into Facebook groups. They were going ahead into other specific communities. Super App, for example, has their community page, bringing and bridging a lot of the community people to kind of come through from there. So not only is it that maybe you don't have the social battery to really speak with people in person, there is an ability to go online, collaborate, and then sometimes that can bridge into something else and have that conversation as well. I can't tell you enough inside of our own community group that they have been a lot of referrals, or just, I wouldn't say cries for help, but really asking, hey, is there any chance that you can help me out with some type of thing, or can you help me while I'm out, things of that nature. I think we built out a great referral partnership with a few of them because we met at a specific event. We went ahead and coordinated in several community groups and things of that nature. So I think really in the biggest piece of it all is that really there is help that's out there, and really focusing on that piece and really collaborating. But I want to go ahead and peel it a little bit back for as well, because I think a lot of times, in my opinion, there is an ability to prevent unplanned work. And this is something that I've been really harping on a lot lately, is that there's a lot of events and there are a lot of things that require an on-site when there wasn't a lot of not only preparation, but the preparation and event to making sure that there isn't unplanned work that will come up. And I'll give you a few examples. There are going to be times that how you've been on an on-site, for example, and you went ahead and you took care of whatever the job was, but you happen to see there was something else that needed to be taken care of, or you said, you know what, I don't have the time right now because I'm on a time crunch, I'll get to it later. How many times has it been that you have not got back to it later?
Later occurs a long time from now.
Sure, great example. So, there's an example I like to use where this caused an unplanned work situation, and go from there. Now, I continue to keep using the term unplanned work and unplanned. So for those that don't know, there is a book called The Phoenix Project, and that book specifically talks about the 4 types of categories of tickets or influx of work that comes in. Unplanned work, change projects that are outside and external, and then internal projects, meaning anything internally that comes in. And if you categorize those items within those 4 categories, you can determine where a lot of your efforts are really going into. So in my example, unplanned always tends to be that there's an unplanned situation. Now I have to figure out how to go on site. And you used the example before where it always happens to be when you're not around, right, exactly. That's when the damn thing happens, and it goes from there. So again, the example that I was going to use before is that we were at an office, we were wiring everything, we set up everybody from there. We just didn't have another Cat5 cable to connect this user into the actual Cat5 port, Cat6 port into the wall. So we went ahead and put the laptop on Wi-Fi, and we said we'll get back to it when we come back and put the cable in there. Of course, 15 other things happened later on, and then it turns out that the person went ahead and they quit, and somehow the Wi-Fi got disconnected or whatever the case may be. Now he's down. This is a law firm. They're charging X amount per hour. They're very adamant about letting me know that they charge X amount per hour. So now they feel like they're losing money at that point. So really what comes to the point at that point is really trying to figure out how do we move forward on that piece, and really getting to the point of understanding that if we would have connected into that point, this would have been an unplanned ticket that we didn't have to dedicate on-site resources, go ahead and move forward from there, and really finding the piece together from that side. So again, unplanned work is something that tends to be something that needs to be addressed. I don't think it's not taken very seriously as much as it should be. How are there any scenarios of that situation that you feel like, damn, if I would have just did this, I wouldn't have to even worry about this type of situation as well. Being that you are so involved with so many aspects of the business.
Yeah, and it's definitely that. It's like if we've had a couple of examples of I go someplace and I see something, and even if I'm in a rush, you know, I'll see it, trying to make a mental note. And this is where I say again, the best thing to do is if you know you time it out and see if you can do it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's a quick fix. 'Cause usually it's just a quick fix, and we say, "Oh, I could get to it later,"
Yeah.
and that's what happens. For us, it was a scenario where this was something that was silly, but it was a scenario where we saw I was in the location trying to leave because I had to go be at another location. The guys had came and did we had the access point was sampled, and somebody had come in the office and done some work. What then the access point was leaning because I guess whatever they did at the ceiling, it's on the drop shoes, whatever they did at the ceiling, they loosened the screws at the top. Now I saw it in my mind. I said, okay, I'll come back. I'll tighten that up.
Good.
And then come back a week later. The client calls. The thing fell out of the ceiling. It's dangling. Right. So really, that's my fault because I should have took the 5 minutes. I probably just needed to go tighten up the wing nuts, and we would have been fine. This problem would have never happened. Right now, again, you can say, well, this is not really our fault because the client's second vendor did whatever they did and they loosened it. But again, it's something we saw. Now, again, it goes back to what you said. It's unplanned work that now causes you time,
Right.
money, because that's an on-site trip now, that time you could have spent somewhere else doing something else.
Right.
So I always say, I've tried to now give myself the 10-minute rate. If I see something, if I can fix it in 10 minutes, and it's not really going to hurt me, then go ahead and do it. Now, the other option, if you cannot do it, you have to create a ticket, make it a priority to get back to it as soon as possible so that it doesn't come when I get to Vegas, that it doesn't happen. Then the thing falls out of the ceiling or something like that, and no one's there to go fix it. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about real quick too when it comes to this is making sure that when one of the mistakes I'm sure 80% of us have made, particularly when we started our business, was giving clients our cell phones. And they feel empowered to call you all the time or text you all the time. And that becomes an issue, right? So one of the things that rule number one now is never give your cell phone. Never. But number two is we have been forcing clients to our ticket pool. And that's just important. However you have tickets that get to your team to get fixed, you have to get every client in that mode. Because what happens is if not, you'll be away. It'll be something simple that needs to be fixed. A lost password. Well, I can't open Outlook or whatever it may be. But they're calling. Now you're in the middle of an expo. You're meeting new people. You're networking. Whatever it is. Now you feel kind of obligated to answer the phone because your client is calling and you want to service them, right? So one of the things we have to enforce is just the proper process. And I'm speaking from experience because we're in Las Vegas. I'm on the East Coast. We're 3 hours behind. So a client last night texted me at 11 o'clock at night. No, 11 o'clock his time, it's 8 o'clock here, saying, hey, Outlook, I can't get into Outlook. Now he said, he texts this to me on my phone. Now I'm out. It's 8 o'clock. We're enjoying the trip. Now you're obligated at some point to try to fix this, right? So what did I do? I said, hey, put in a ticket. The guys will address it in the morning. We'll figure out what's wrong. His response was, well, can you do that? Like, can you fix it? And I'm, this is where it comes. So I put the ticket in for him. It got addressed this morning, it got fixed. But the thing is, if he would have just done that, and then the other thing is you're saying, you shouldn't have answered the text message.
I mean,
but, it happened. So I'm just saying that the worst thing to do, so take it from me, don't give anybody your cell phone number. Right? 2, force them into the portals or email or however you have tickets that you want tickets to come into the system. Because also that makes it more efficient for you as well.
right. I mean, I want to actually harp on that a little bit more because what you're talking about is obviously the theory of constraint. introduced a single point of failure because you've put yourself in the middle of this business action of what's going on. But before we go into that, I want to take a quick break on a sponsor, Super Apps.
Are you tired of dealing with outdated PSA RMM solutions that come with a hefty implementation cost, complicated setups, and pricing structures that don't quite fit your needs? It's time to make a change. Meet SuperOps, a future-ready PSA RMM platform that streamlines IT operations, enhances customer support, ensures security, and boosts client satisfaction. With SuperOps, you get a PSA, RMM, IT documentation, network monitoring, and project management all in one place. Automation of repetitive tasks, enhanced productivity, and reduced errors. You get actionable insights with proactive monitoring to prevent issues. And one of my favorite things, dedicated support from a team committed to your success. SuperOps also offers transparent pricing, putting you in control of your cost. So what are you waiting for? Try SuperOps today for free and evaluate your MSP operations.
All right. I mean, I love me some Super Apps.
Yeah, Super Ops is good, man. I'm well, we're in month 4 now. I think I'm in month 4 of it, and I'm really enjoying it, getting a lot out of it. And I do want to say thank you to Super Ops. They're creating a great product, and what I think is great is, and you guys have heard me harp on this from time to time. What's most important to me, it doesn't prices, a factor, and performance is always a factor, but most importantly is service. And what I'm finding, I think, if anybody asks me personally, what do you get the most out of Super Ops? I say they help me when I need it. When I need it, not I don't have to wait, and I really appreciate that.
I think one of the favorite things, we're now officially fully over to Super Apps, and I think the one biggest piece that we love is the ability to do mentions. I think where we're running into problems where the coordination was hard and no one knew if someone else needed help or needed to bring someone involved when it came to a certain situation. So that was really what was very helpful. And one of my favorite pieces is the add mentions in the ticket, being able to track all those abilities and updates if you need help, or you're tagging someone because you need some input or just need someone to take over that ticket as well, which goes back to my point of single point of failure. So back in enterprise, and when I used to work at W2, we used to call these SPOFs. And it was a huge pain in the butt because the problem with a single point of failure is exactly what the name says. There is one point that you are relying on to be accurate, working, providing the value, providing the resource. And if that thing fails, it is a complete catastrophic situation and a domino effect on everything else.
It rolls downhill, like they say.
And so my biggest point about that is that how do you prevent yourself from being that single point of failure, right? And what is the tangible things that you really need to figure out? I think the biggest piece you have to understand is, how many times have you been asked something and you say, oh, I got to stop what I'm doing to do X to explain, okay? If that happens more often in times than not, you probably should have a good KB or an IT documentation for it as they go along. Eventually, once you get to that point where you have the good documentation, and again, you just have to start, literally just write it out and go from there. We're using Super Apps' IT documentation piece, so we're able to actually link in certain specific vendor, troubleshooting documents, things of that nature. So when I've had clients tell me, hey, this client's line of business application failed, we don't know how to set it up, my answer is, did you check the KB? And if it's not in the KB, that's my failure, because now it's become a single point of failure, and now we have to go ahead and make sure that we fix that piece on there. So again, going into that single point of failure, it's such a big piece of that. Now, you mentioned obviously getting a text message at 8 o'clock at night, which is here, 11 o'clock here,
8 here,
11 over there. So the whole point of that is that bleep no, I'm not going to go ahead and pick up a call or a text message from a client at that hour, okay? Second of all, I think that's the whole point of having process in place. If someone doesn't follow the process, that's not on you, that's not on them, that's on the client to be able to do so. So that's why, again, we have our out of offices. So in this example here, we're out of time. So there's no way of being able to do the out of office situation. We can't do an on-site. So the out of office specifically says, hey, we are not available. But the process says, here's where you need to go from this, and here's the need to go from there. The communication is going to be key. So now that I have that, they can't put that on me. I have my voicemail. I have to say where to go. If the client chose to ignore that, well, that's on them. That's on the service center. Now, I do believe in the phrase of it may not be our fault, but it is our problem. So when it comes to being able to generate that specific piece of how do we get involved, how do we help? One example that we had this past week, we don't do web development. Don't do it at all. Oh, I hate web developers. But the whole point of it specifically is that a client had a changeover. They rebranded their systems. They moved into a new brand. We take care of their domains because we enable all the things that we need to do, the DKIMs, the DMARCs, the DNSSEC. We do all these other things with figuring out all those specific pieces. We have nothing to do with the hosting. None whatsoever. She hires a contractor. They're handling the hosting. They're doing all the situation that they have to do from there. Apparently, the website is broken and now it doesn't go anywhere. Their email's fine. That's what we're responsible for. It's a website issue. But now she's in the dirt. She has to go ahead and has an RFP that's pending. She needs a website up. She's asking for help. The contractor's not helping her. So we go ahead and step in. Now, hey, sometimes you should say no. Sometimes you come out as the hero. So we did fix everything, and it turned out we just have to message the web hosting company, and they figured out what it is. We've never had experience with them. But the point of the matter is that sometimes you do have to step in from there. But we had received an email later on from her saying that, hey, I just want to let you know that we've lost a lot of business because of this issue. And I really hope that in our next call, we can discuss how we can fix this. So I told the account manager, I said, that's not our problem. Right. It's not our fault, but we definitely took it on as our problem, and she needs to be educated to understand that part, right? But again, it does introduce that single point of failure where if that process wasn't in place, the team or anyone communicating to her would have assumed, oh, that was on us, and there was no way to be able to resolve it, right? So again, really addressing and making sure that how serious the single point of failures are really a huge piece, because if you get away from the unplanned work, now you can focus on the great things, the change or requests, focus on the business projects to improve from there, things of that nature. Now, I harp on you all the time about this, and you cannot focus on your day-to-day duties as you want. So you mentioned, if I could run cable all day, I'd be happy as a clam. The question is, why can't you do that? Because you're that single point of failure, right? So how do you improve on that? How do you fix that, right? So there are many services out there for let's say that you're going out, you're trying to walk out, you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to go ahead and do and go ahead and enjoy what I'm going to do? Because here, not only are we presenting, but we're also trying to learn for our business so we can work on our business. So the ability is, how do you remove yourself? As painful as it's going to be, how do you do that, right? Mm-hmm. So there are many options. Let's say you don't have the resources, again, to hire employees and with contractors and things of that nature. There are many services out there. Is there a telemarketing service, or not telemarketing, answering service that you can go ahead and employ? Being able to pick up the call, take the message, and you have the ability to look as needed from there. And you auto forward your phone so that they can make sure that it goes to the answering service and they pick up the call. So you have the choice and you can go from there. There's so many ways to be able to go ahead and peel this onion to figure out what's the layer that you want to attack first. But as an iPhone you got, you have to be one to want to do that change, right? So any employee or feedback you have for that?
No, I think you're right. You have to be the change. And for me, I have to be the change. And this is what is absolutely right. It's like, I have to be able to step away. So first you have to get your mindset in the understanding that, hey, you cannot be successful if you're the end all and be all of everything in business. Just can't. Because there's too many things to do, there's too many bases to cover. So you have to, first of all, do that. Then you got to be willing to delegate, right? You got to be willing to trust the people you hire to do their job. Teach them to do their job and then trust them to do it. And then, third, having documentation, having processes in place, things like that, just being ordered and structured will also help you go a long way, because now when things happen, there is a process for doing it, and that process is not call Rick. You know what I mean? The process is, let's follow these steps and let's solve it this way. If everything else fails and we've tried everything else, then maybe we have to call Rick. But Rick should be last on that list and not first on that list. And that starts with Rick not picking up the phone, not answering the text. It's just allowing the team to do it and saying to them, hey, saying to your customers again, this is where I think my biggest weakness has been, is monitoring the help desk tickets and answering the phone when it rings. And I need to let, the people who are paid to do that. And Paco said to me the other day, why don't you let Michael answer the phone? Why do you always answer the phone? And sometimes I just pick it up because I see who's calling and I'll answer the call and try to help them out or alleviate some things on the tech side. But He's absolutely right, and it's taking away, it basically does two things because it doesn't also instill trust from your employees that you trust them to do their job,
Right.
and it also it inundates you with extra crap that you don't necessarily need to do. Let's be honest, and I don't want it to mean the job of what techs do, but they don't need me to go in and change somebody's password.
Right.
Right? That could be done by someone who's paid to do it. So again, learning, first of all, getting out of your own way is probably the first place best to start, right? You want to run a successful business, you cannot do the end all be all, like I say, of everything. You just can't. It's just too many things to do. So again, I'm learning. I doing a better job this week, even though I did answer that text like yesterday. But I am doing a better job. I have not looked at the help desk tickets all day.
That's good.
So
Progress.
yeah. So we're getting there, but it really boils down to that. You gotta have a plan to step away. And again, it goes back to that adage we always talk about: work on the business and not in the business, because that technically should be your ultimate goal as a business owner. Right now they say, I'll do here with this. Somebody look at my title, I say founder and CEO. That's what it says. But I always say, I'm the founder and operator. I run and operate a business because I'm still in the business doing stuff, right? I want to be able to take that operate out of my title or out of my explanation, and and then let my people do that, and I'm out, as they say, kissing babies or losing business, right? And that's the ultimate goal with this, because we can't sell, market, solve tickets, go on site, answer the phones, pay the bills, collect the money. We can't do all of those things, and in 24 hours. It just doesn't work. And you don't really have 24 hours because you got to sleep at some point.
Right. I mean, I think there's a big piece to understand that you are going to go through some type of pain, right? Whether that is the pain of the thumbtack, like the Bloodhound story, the thumbtack that's underneath you. It hurts enough, but not enough for you to roll over to take the damn tack off, right? So there's a big piece to understand that if you can either suffer that pain or the pain of actually having to deal with it head on, and then understanding that pain is just temporary, and then you move forward from there, right? So, what are you going to implement, right? That's the takeaway from today's episode, is really understanding how do you ensure that not only are you the single point of failure, how do you remove yourself from that and being that operator, as you mentioned, and being able to boom there. There may be some listening to this that says, look, I have to be it all because that's just what I have to do right now. Question is, how are you gaining and how are you scheduling yourself so you can get to the point where you want to be? Again, this is what leads to a lot of burnout. This is what leads into a lot of just getting tired of what you do and really figuring out, how do I move forward? How do I fix that? And so that I can enjoy what I'm doing for a little bit. If I can go ahead and just have a couple of hours or two just to really breathe and really just figure out from that side of the story. You really have to figure that point, because there's going to be a point where it's going to be burning the candle from both ends, and then you're just frustrated. And then as far as for you, we have two businesses that you got to help run, right? So, one is going to suffer from the other, and you have to understand, how do we move forward with that? Because one cannot get all the attention. Now, there may be one that gets the attention at that time and switching out for both of them. And how do you make sure that it can run efficiently without being able to sacrifice other things, such as other commitments that you have, personal life, things of that nature? So again, really going down and really prepping yourself and really figuring out how to do that. There are those services. There are those being able to partner with. And again, you may not even know who to talk to, who you go from there. There's easy. You can write into us. You can go ahead and go into the LSP community Facebook group, being able to really focus and understand, how do we move forward to be able to not only go from working, again, in the business, but also working on the business as well, and being able to at least have some flexibility, but most importantly, help that with freedom so that you can move forward and just go ahead and help yourself from there. Anything else?
I will be documenting and tracking as I'm going through this process. But I will leave with one piece of advice, right? This is the piece of advice that was given to me about pricing, about doing things. And I probably should have followed the same process for how I've run the business and how I structured it. You run the business, whether you're a one-person shop or a 30-person shop, you run the business based on the size that you want to be and where you want to be. So if you're a 1 or 2 person shop now and you plan to be a 10, 20 person, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you want to be, you document, you process, you set your processes up like that. Just like we talked about pricing, right? You can't price your product to your client based on just what right? You can't do it for one person, because once you get a second employee, now you can't afford it because your pricing is too bad. So you price based on where you want to be, not where you are. And you should also set up your business based on where you want to be, not where you are. So the faster you can take yourself out of the day-to-day operations, the better. And that really, obviously, it only takes hiring 2 people, right? An admin and a tech. And you've really taken yourself 75% out of the business right there if you train them right and have the proper process in order. So my piece of advice I'll leave you with is plan to do that earlier rather than later and run it into the wall where, I found myself at. So again, feel free. I'll be talking about this from time to time, during our shows that we go through. Paco will be on my behind about it anyway. So, we'll address it again and we'll talk about it again. But that's it for me for today.
I think that the biggest piece that I'll leave with everyone here, and as again, I do get on Rick quite a bit, to make sure, but you have to make your decisions based on data, and you have to ensure that what do you have in front of you to be able to move forward onto that. So this is what I implore you to do. If you're on a PSA, if you are on a CRM, I suggest that you go ahead and label some of these tickets, export it out to CSV, grab the last couple, maybe the last 2 months, maybe the last 3 months. Go ahead and label each individual ticket so they can move forward from there and be able to find the piece to go from, all right, which ones are unplanned, which ones are change requests, which ones are projects, which ones are unplanned internal projects, and being able to look at that data and seeing, all right, how many of these were unplanned? How many of these were change requests? How many of these are from there? And this is why I'm telling you to do so, because maybe your problem is not the fact that you don't have resources. It may be you have the wrong client, and now they're taking up the resources you have. And what you really need to do is find another client to replace that bad client for the resources to really move forward on that piece. So again, I implore you, run this check. You can do this easily if you want to just do it in the future. Change those labels in your PSA and your CRM system, figure out a tagging system that you can track which ones are unplanned, which ones are changed, things of that nature. We implemented this 2 years ago. We realized that a client was not a fit, but we had no ability to understand why it wasn't a fit. Come to find out, it was a lot of change requests versus that it wasn't really tickets of the unplanned work that was coming in. So because of those change requests, we realized that this client needed education. Unfortunately, they were not adhering to the education. So we realized that it was not a fit, and that's why we were able to let that client go. So again, it freed us up. The techs were happy. Our admin and dispatcher were happy because they didn't have to realize, because it wasn't a great fit anyway, but the data allowed us to understand how much it was affecting us for that reason. So again, I implore you, take a look, categorize that, read the book first if you really want to get into depth and understand that, but just being able to identify from those 4 different pieces, not just, again, a printer ticket, a password reset, things of that nature, really understanding what's going on a category basis will go so much further for you to really understand how you can delegate your time and, most importantly, delegate your staff as well. One last piece, and I'll say, is that we're at this great event. We're sharing a lot of knowledge. We're learning a lot of knowledge. But again, if you have people, again, it's all about smart delegation. You should not be able to harness on and hoard all the fun. Send your people out. Make sure that they are upskilled. Make sure that they are learning as well. I'm taking the entire team out to Backstage Beyond. They're going to be having those multiple tracks as well. They loved last year's. They're coming back then. And not only is it a great opportunity, especially because my team is all remote, we have an ability to come together because they're all in different states of the U.S. and internationally as well, but also coming together, having that camaraderie, having that rapport, but also being able to upskill your people as well. So with that, I want to go ahead and I think we kind of put the can on this episode from here. Right? So if you like what you hear, thank you for tuning in. You can feel free to tune in every week. You can watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and you'll be notified whenever a new episode is available. You can also take us with you on the go, whether you're on your favorite podcatcher app. We're on Amazon Music, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget, head over to get your tickets at TechConUnplugged.com. We want to again say thank you for listening, and we want to say we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.